Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
And welcome in. It's another installment of the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. We are broadcasting from the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens Roost 44. Give yourselves a hand. It is week number 11 in the NFL, week number 10 for your now 7-2 Baltimore Ravens coming up. We're going to recap the 55-20 drubbing of the Oakland Raiders. Also, talk news and notes. We'll recap the AFC North. And yes, as John just mentioned, it is Steeler week. We're going to preview the upcoming game against Pittsburgh. Sunday night kickoff at 8:25. The Ravens Wrap Show brought to you by our friends at the original Green Turtle, the Blue Ox, our friends at Bud Light, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Geico, the Ocean City Golf Club, jctickets.net, and Holiday Inn Express. I am Mike Bradley from 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. To my left, from Endless Golf and a host of a million golf shows all up and down the East Coast, Bobby Vermillion. Bobby, welcome back.
Hey, Mike, it's good to be here. I got to say, Mike, it's good to have two Ravens fans on one side, two Steelers fans on the other tonight.
Hey, if there's anything I learned from The Godfather, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Without further ado, Bucksy from Bucksy's
There we go. That's when you guys are supposed to. Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome. Good to see you back after a couple years.
I tell you, I never thought I'd be invited back after, the Steelers usually win after I come up and do one of these shows.
Well, we hope that doesn't hold true, Bugsy, but it's good to see you in some purple. You look good.
Yeah. It's rough.
But it is
it's rough.
Steeler
I get
week,
the shakes.
so we've got our Steeler insider, Bucksy from Bucksy's Salty Dog, and making a return, OC local, former Lehigh College player, and still on the fence about Joe Flacco 5 years in, John Gehrig. Welcome back to the program. Well, guys, first and foremost, 55-20 drubbing of the Raiders. All-around great effort. There are a lot of records that got broke on Sunday. Let me run through a few. Franchise record, 55 points. The previous record was 48 against Detroit back in 2009. Ray Rice, just 35 yards and a touchdown, 13 carries, but he surpassed the 5,000-yard mark, joining Jamal Lewis. Jacoby Jones became the first Ravens player to return 2 kickoffs over 100 yards. He's also the first player in NFL history with 2 kickoff return touchdowns of at least 105 yards in a career. And the 55 points the Raiders allowed against the Ravens on Sunday tied a franchise record for points allowed in a single game. Bobby Vermillion, all across the board, offense, defense, special teams, that was a beatdown of epic proportion.
It really was, Mike, and the trend continues. The Ravens offense continues to look good at home and then struggles on the road. Obviously, with the big matchup this week in Pittsburgh, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I will say this, it has to give them a little bit more confidence moving in against Pittsburgh this week. Obviously, you're going to face a whole different defense than they looked at last week at M&T Bank Stadium with the Raiders. But it is amazing. Joe Flacco looks like a different quarterback. He looks like a top 10 quarterback when he plays at home, and he looks like maybe a top 25 quarterback when he plays on the road. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it was a great performance. And hats off to Cam Cameron. He did a great job calling the offensive plays, too.
The interesting thing is Ray Rice, as I mentioned, he just had 35 yards rushing and a touchdown, 13 carries in the affair, yet we still won the ball game. And we've really gotten on Cam about not running the football enough this year, yet, we didn't really have to go to him a whole lot. We took care of business nonetheless. John, I guess it was a factor of, hey, we still that play action pass. As long as you keep them honest and there's the threat of Ray Rice, who teams are scheming against. There's an element of the play action pass which is opening up for us.
I just think, the first half of the season, the schedule coming out before the season started, looked to be pretty tough. But at this point in the game, we played 7 teams that are with below 500 records, with Texans and the Patriots, the only 2 with above 500 records. And the Ravens' change of DNA, getting away from the run game when you have one of the best running backs in the league, I just think it's a problem going down the stretch and going into the playoffs. So I hope, Ray Rice has only touched the ball, not running the ball, not rushes, just touches. He's had more than 25 touches just 3 times all year. And to me, that's a sin. It's crazy. I mean, Bucksy, I guess you're hoping he doesn't do it this way.
He is your bread and butter, that's for sure. And let's go back to that game. Oakland is not a good team, even though they beat Pittsburgh. I will say that. But Oakland, they had no running game going in, and it was a good warm-up for the Ravens coming in.
Yeah, Oakland, to the Steelers' defense, Oakland played them in Oakland. They had McFadden. They had Richard Seymour. Obviously, they're banged up a little bit. Obviously, with our home record at M&T Bank Stadium, it's a whole different ballgame, playing on the road in the NFL. I think you saw that this week. But, unlike John Bucksy, it doesn't concern me. The NFL's a little different. They're trying to get some rhythm with a lot of different weapons that the Ravens have this year. As a Steelers fan, you see guys like Dennis Pitta stepping up, Ed Dixon, the second year with Torrey Smith, and you've got Bolden there. They're trying to turn Flacco and that offense into a little more no-huddle, use all the weapons that we have. Obviously, coming into this time of year, going into a place like Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, you may see a little more Ray Rice. Although Pittsburgh's a tough team to run the football on, you have to have balance. But as the weather gets colder, just like the Steelers, you're going to see more of a commitment, I believe, to the running game.
Oh, definitely, without doubt. And I think for the Ravens to win, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure, but they have to establish the running game with, and Ray Rice, as John was saying, has to be a big part of that game.
Yeah, guys, I just don't know how you flip a switch. I mean, you have a league where the owners have voted basically to convert the league to a more pretty league, the more greatest show on turf style. We're going to throw the ball all over the place style. So what that means, just like Ray Lewis losing 20 pounds this year, the defenses now are geared up to stop the pass. And when you have, so let's just imagine this is a game, it is a game, but war or something. You try to exploit your opponent's weaknesses. If everyone's going to gear their defenses to stop the pass, and you have one of the best running backs in the game with an offensive line geared to pound the ground and pound, why aren't we running the ball to even make Joe Flacco a better passer?
Well, let's make this point, Mike. Let's take a look at Cam Cameron, a guy who's been under a lot of scrutiny and taken a lot of heat from a lot of Ravens fans, not just this year, but in years past. If you look at the game last week against Tampa Bay with the Oakland Raiders, they had their way with the Oakland defense, and they ran the football. They had a rookie, put up over 200 yards,
Doug Martin had 251 and 3 touchdowns.
So coming into this game, what's the natural thing to look at? You believe that the Ravens are going to ground and pound it with Ray Rice. Cam Cameron has a couple different twists. He does more of an air show. And to his credit, it was working. Now, I can see if it wasn't working, but you know what? They couldn't stop our passing attack. So I think hats go off to Cam Cameron this week because he's taken a lot of flack. But when you put up 55 points, granted a couple were on a fake field goal and a kickoff return, but the offense was still dynamic. It was still fun to watch. It wasn't ground and pound, and I think we're going to see a different display this week.
Against those bad teams, the Ravens did exactly what you need to do against a bad team, especially at home. You need to destroy them. That's just the way it is. So they did that, mission accomplished. There's really not a whole lot to talk about. That's how bad the Raiders are. Right now, minus their studs, and they lost 2 of their running backs, Seymour's out. They did what they needed to do. But you need to establish the running. This is a game to get the kind of juices flowing, to get the running game going here a little bit. I just think when you're coming down the stretch against some good teams, Flacco, and on the road, no less. Some of these games are going to be on the road. You would think you want to get the ground game going in case Flacco has his 50% completion percentage.
Well, John, this will be a good test from here on out. If you go back last week against the Browns or 2 weeks ago against the Browns, 25 carries for Ray Rice. He touched the ball 2 on reception, so he got 27 touches. In this game, realize he was out a decent part of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter. Pass-to-run ratio was 33 to 25. If he had stayed in the game, it probably would have been more. So I think we're getting there, but we'll see. I think the next 3 weeks will be key. I think, Bucksy, when you watch this Ravens team against the Raiders, you mentioned not a very good team. They're without McFadden and Goodson, their top 2 running backs. You mentioned Seymour out. out. But the thing is, good NFL teams, they take care of business against the teams they should beat, and that's something the Ravens and the Steelers, especially at home, to their credit, have done through the years. And so they took care of business. You get up early, you make the other team, you dig them a hole, and they have to climb out, and very difficult to do at M&T Bank Stadium or Heinz Field.
Yeah, that's going into this game. I think the Ravens obviously are going to have to switch gears. Cam Cameron, his whole offensive game plan is going to be like, okay, we got to just go right at him, pound it at him. Where against the Oakland, the second quarter really opened up. Yeah, and I hope.
And there were mismatches in the passing game, and that's why they took advantage.
So, and we'll see what I'm interested in seeing what kind of game plan he puts together, offensive schemes. Going against the Stees.
You know, it's interesting, Mike, when you look at this week and you look as a Ravens fan, everybody's saying, that the Oakland Raiders are a bad football team. Well, that's true. But, we had our way with them. But then again, the Pittsburgh Steelers played a bad football team in Kansas City, and they barely eked that out. That's not a knock against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every team in the NFL is a good team. Now, if the Ravens would have beaten Oakland by 7 points or 3 points, we'll be saying that they're a bad football team this week. They're bad because we put 55 up on them. Every team in the NFL, there's no East Carolinas on the schedule. So, what the Steelers faced on Monday night was a decent Kansas City team. They're an NFL team. They played their hearts out in front of a national audience. And, every team in the NFL has a lot of pride. And I think you have to really take your hats off to what the Ravens did. A franchise record, as you mentioned, in points. Yep. Yeah, they weren't a great football team, but you know what? There's a lot of teams that don't have great records, but they're going to try. Nobody wants to be humiliated like that in an NFL game.
No, absolutely. And I think going into this tough stretch, you're at Pittsburgh, you're at San Diego, then you're back home against Pittsburgh, building momentum, building confidence on all three levels, not just offense and defense, special teams as well. I think that's huge going up to Pittsburgh. And again, we'll talk more in depth about that game coming up, and a game in which we may have an advantage there to be able to take advantage of that. We'll see. I agree with you. I mean, the fact is that anybody can win on any given day. And as John Harbaugh says, each game is unique, every week. And some teams match up better than others. So you can't discount wins in the NFL. I think that's the thing, John. You don't discount wins. They are very difficult to come by, especially on the road. But even at home, hey, don't take it for granted.
Bucksy nailed it. I mean, when you play bad teams, and anyone that's played sports has played, you've been an underdog where you play up and you pull off an upset, and you've also been heavily favored. And when you're heavily favored, you got to hit them in the face right out of the gate. If you don't, you run into the Kansas City. I mean,
you don't want to keep them in the game. Yeah.
We kept Kansas City in the game too.
Right.
Steelers kept Kansas City.
Well, maybe Kansas City had that bad of a football team.
They're pretty bad.
They're bad. They're bad when you turn the when you turn the ball over as much as Kansas City turned the ball over. That'll make any football team bad. But when you look at the talent on the field, I mean, Jamal Charles can run the football. They got a dynamic wide receiver in Bo. Their defense is pretty good. So I don't think. I don't call them a JV, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's a lot more to get to. The 55-20 win, the Ravens over the Raiders. We haven't talked a lot about the defensive side. We'll get to that coming up and a whole lot more. Of course, it is Steeler Week. Bucksy special guest joining us. There's lots more to come. We are broadcasting from the Ravens room of the Blue Ox. It is the Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach. We are back. Keep it here.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.